When I think about the Beatles, I don't just hear their music, I imagine the studio. The hum of equipment and a room full of people leaning toward a single moment when a take finally clicks. Their records feel alive because they capture more than notes and lyrics. They capture the act of creation itself with all its curiosity, disagreement, and sudden inspiration. Body, the story of the Beatles in the studio is as much about invention as it is about songcraft. Early on they were a tight live band, honed on stages in Liverpool and Hamburg. But once they set foot in Emmy's studio on Abbey Road, the studio stopped being just a place to document performances and became an instrument in its own right. Microphones, tape machines, mixing desks, and the creative imagination of engineers and producers all became part of the palette. George Martin's role was pivotal. Often called the fifth Beatle, he brought classical sensibilities, arranging skills, and a willingness to try new ideas. Jeff Emerick and other engineers pushed technical boundaries, close miking drums, experimenting with mic placement, compressing sounds to create presence. Innovations like artificial double tracking, tape loops, varispeed manipulation and reverse recordings weren't gimmicks. They were solutions to artistic questions. How do you make a vocal sound otherworldly? How do you recreate the feeling of a room inside a pair of headphones? The Beatles and their studio team answered those questions by inventing new ways to record. What stands out is the band's fearless curiosity. George Harrison introduced sitar and Indian influences that opened pop music to new timbres. John Lennon chased abstract textures and ideas, tape loops and psychedelic collage, while Paul McCartney's knack for melody met with an arranger's sense for structure. As on string-laden tracks like Eleanor Rigby, Ringo's steady, tasteful drumming kept the experiments anchored. His fills and sounds served the song, even when it was being stretched into unfamiliar territory. Collaboration made the rest possible. Sessions could be messy, arguments, rewrites, sudden late-night breakthroughs, but those tensions often produced something unexpected and durable. The band trusted each other enough to follow risky choices and trusted their producers and engineers to translate bold ideas into listenable art. The result was albums that didn't just document a moment in time. They changed what a pop record could be. Legacy, the Beatles' studio work matters because it married songwriting and sonic invention. They never lost sight of the song even as they stretched its boundaries. Which is why their records still sound immediate decades later. Listening to their albums is like witnessing a conversation between musicians and technology. A conversation that reshaped popular music's vocabulary. Closing, when the last take was fading and the console lights dimmed, the Beatles left behind more than hit singles. They left a way of thinking about records as places to explore, to fail, to invent, and that curiosity still echoes every time a new producer reaches for an unfamiliar sound. If you close your eyes and listen, you can still hear the studio's buzz, an unfinished question that keeps inspiring musicians and listeners alike.